So here we're talking about what it takes to invest and get to the point where you retire. So what about actually retiring? Let's fast forward now. You guys have worked your butts off. You've done everything you needed to do. You're old enough where you're my age and you're like, I want to retire. I'm out of here. I'm done, right? So how do you actually do that with that money that you saved? Do you just start taking it out and in huge chunks and go and buying everything and call it good? No. Obviously, you want to kind of take it out at a point that allows that money to stay there to use for larger purchases, and even better, if you can, to let it continue to grow, right? So my suggestion to you is pick your target. And we talked about your targets, your goals, a few sections ago. But let's say, for the sake of today, we're talking about a goal of $2.5 million. All right, that's your goal. You're going to get your investments up to $2.5 million. All right, and if you're taking out what I would say is a pretty conservative amount, but you're going to take out 3% of that every year. 3% of $2.5 million is $75,000. All right, so it's year one of your retirement. You're done working, you're kicked back, you're going on a beach to vacation or whatever you guys want to do, or up in the mountains to be cold, whatever you want to do, right? And you're taking out $75,000. Now remember, the stock market goes up by how much every year, typically?
8% to
roughly,
10.
Yeah, 8 to 10, sometimes 12. And then there's, of course, there's years that it goes down, right? So if you're taking out 3%, the good thing about that one is that if it's a bad year, like you happen to retire right as everything crashed, it's like, it's a bad time to start pulling money out, right? Because you want your money to continue to grow while you're doing it. But if you take out 3%, you're probably going to be okay. You're not going to completely upset the apple cart. But if you take out that 3%, and let's pretend that it is an 8% year, and you get the other 5% going up, so you've only taken out 3 of the 8%, there's 5% left over. Well, at the end of that, if a total of 8% for $2.5 million is $200,000, right? So your stock portfolio in a given year at $2.5 million is going to go up 200 grand all by itself. And if you're only taking out 75, what's left over?
I mean, around 125.
Yeah, $125,000, right? So it went up by 200, you took out 75, and you left the 125. So the next year, instead of being $2.5 million, it's $2,625,000, right? You follow the math on that one so far? Okay, good. All right, so it continues to go up each year. So the cool thing about that, and we'll look at the chart here on the back of the sheet that I gave to you, is look at the year for retirement for year one. You can see your nest egg, of $2.5 million, and you're pulling out 3%, which is 75 grand. The next year, you can see that your nest egg is now $2,625,000. The cool thing is, if you're still pulling out 3%, well, 3% of 2.6 million is greater than 2.5 million, so you get to pull out a little more than 75 grand. And as you go through, look at these years as we continue to go up. By the time you get to about 4 years, you've got about just under $3 million in there, and you're pulling out close to $90,000. And so that's the cool thing is, as you move along, more and more years in retirement, as long as you're only pulling out 3% and the stock market keeps doing what it normally does, it keeps getting bigger and bigger. So if you look here to towards the end of retirement, here's 20 years down the road, what do you have there in the stocks? You have 6.3 million, and you're pulling out $189,000 a year, and it's still just 3%. So
That's crazy.
it's nuts, right? Once you get to that large amount, it just keeps going. It doesn't stop just because you're retired. So that's the great thing about if you did it right. Your retirement, your suckiest year is your first year. If you do it right, it's going to get better and better. The older you get, the closer you get to death, the better your life is. So anyway, or at least as far as money goes, the easier it is. And the cool thing is you get to leave something behind for your kids, your grandkids, or make big purchases that you want, or donate to charity, whatever you want to do that is important to you. So.